We go back into LinkedIn. It's,
Oh dear.
Islam's are
we're on.
here at Ingosa Talk Shows. Today we are going to share something with you guys. Many couples experience, but rare have the words to describe. So the topic is weaponized incompetence, the hidden threat to healthy love. Um, Incompetence is when one partner pretends they can't do something, whether it's handling chores, remembering or contributing emotionally, so that the other partner ends up carrying the loads. So at first it may seem small, even playful, but if it's left unchallenged, it brings resentment.
Oh dear.
Frozen.
Um,
Uh,
Gone a bit frozen there.
yeah.
Oh dear. Having struggled to hear you, Nomsa. Um, I'm not sure what's happening here or whether we're still live, you're live or what, but um, I think this is what happens in a relationship though, isn't it, Shireen, when you have weaponized incompetence, there's something happens that blocks communication,
Yeah.
stops things
Yeah.
getting through, and they just disappear.
I don't know whether we're live still or not, but I think we're out. Oh,
Actually,
we
that's a
are on
good,
the live
yes, I
stream.
think,
We're still
yeah,
there. We're
yeah,
still there. So we can carry
yeah,
on talking until Nomsa comes back. Yes, it's
yes.
really interesting. And, the first, obviously, when we grow up as women, the first thing we experience as we grow up is a lot of differences between how women and men are given chores, right?
Yeah.
And I do remember one thing that my mother said to me that just used to cause me so much stress. Well, she would say, go and do the dishes or go and do this because your brother is useless. Your brother is useless. And it's really interesting because later on, my brother did all the housework. His wife did very little. So he married into with someone that wasn't doing those things. And it's interesting that he did the work and he did the stuff.
Mm,
But he never got to do any chores really, basically because he did them so badly that my mum let him off.
yeah.
And actually, this is where the resentment gets built up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's this unfairness that becomes instilled in the whole fabric of society, particularly if if it gets allowed, right? And we know that people, men and women, are different in the ways that they are, but there's a lot of that's conditional, right? A lot of
Right.
our upbringing actually does affect how we are, even though we know biologically there are some differences. It's just the fact that if you can get away with it, most people are very smart.
Mm-hmm.
If they can get away with it and be fundamentally lazy, they will. If they can go and do the stuff that they want to do, head banging and listening to music, so why not be the kind of person that is useless at doing things like housework or doing things like taking the dogs for a walk or feeding them or these kinds of things. So I think it's what has happened with more education, with more power and women becoming more empowered it's like we don't want to have that experience of feeling the unfairness, right? The unfairness and that unequal distribution in a relationship of joint or shared responsibilities is something that makes women feel very, very, very frustrated. Right? Because most women that come into relationships are coming into relationships with men that have been conditioned by their mums and dads. And so they're in this juxtaposition where they're trying to change this person and at the same time trying to hold this relationship because, she's got a lot of investment in it. And particularly if you're a mum, there's a huge amount of investment in your offspring.
Yeah.
And particularly because we call it reproductive fitness, but women only reproduce to a certain age, but men can reproduce all their lives. So they can still go on and have second families elsewhere. But for women, it's a lot harder. And so women really do, and that's why we get caught in this thing of 24/7, always a mum, always there, always taking the responsibility, and really finding it really difficult to share that responsibility.
Mm.
And because, what is good enough? You want your child to be having everything, and most men probably would say, "Oh, that's good enough." They don't die.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest problems that I have with my mums, is really just saying, "Hey, what's the basic thing that you need to have?" Like, the child is clean, the child is happy, the child hasn't been hurt or anything else. Hey, be happy with that.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't try and give rules.
Oh,
But it's
yeah.
one of those things, right?
Mm.
It's really about recognizing this shared responsibility, and how do you share it that you're not really imposing very strict rules that have no flexibility, no ability to be able to go with the flow every now and then.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Absolutely. I mean, I like what you said. Um, differences, how chores are given are from childhood and that sort of indoctrination. And I remember once that we were at my aunts and uncles,
Mhm.
and my dad was helping my uncle build his garage, and I wanted to be a part of that,
Yeah.
and I wasn't allowed to be. I had to go into the kitchen and be with my mum and my aunt. My brother was allowed because he was a boy. And I was furious at the time. And it stayed with me for a long time till I sort of then thought that's not healthy to hang on to that anger because it doesn't serve me anymore. But it took years before I realized that. And it was
Yeah.
always that a niggle with me. That wasn't fair. Just because he's a boy, he's allowed to help. And I have to go inside and help with the women sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's I think we do need to be aware of how we're sectioning things off and creating that notice this is your job, this is your role. Because actually, when you're in a relationship and a partnership, it's shared. It
Yeah.
should be a shared responsibility, and it's something that you discuss rather than it sort of becomes by default you do this and by default you do that. And so yeah, it's I think it's more so come about where because obviously women are now working more,
Mm.
whereas before they were probably more up in the home and it was the man that went out to work. Well, I mean, it's years now. This has just really changed. So both partners could be out working, or it could be that the woman
Mm.
is the main breadwinner, and goes out to work. Husband stays at home. So it is about having that communication
Mm.
and deciding what roles you want to take on or what tasks are there to be done and having an agreement about what's shared. But I love this term when I saw it, weaponized incompetence. I was like, what?
How to use
But
incompetence as a weapon.
it's like, yeah,
Mm.
it's used as a weapon because somebody says, well, I'm no good at it. So
Yeah.
therefore, I don't need to do it. And the other partner then takes it on. It's not challenged. It's not altered in any way. And it's not about really trying to change the other person, because sometimes that's what you tend to go into a relationship and start
Mm.
doing.
Yeah.
And that can also, by trying to change the other person, that can cause resentment as well,
Mm.
because it's not about changing them. It's about coming together and saying, well, okay, so what's working here? How can we support each other? And maybe reskilling, having that willingness to learn. So yeah, the definitely that unfairness and resentment really does
Mm.
start to sink in. In the beginning, it's okay. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. But no, and I think I'm just thinking, actually, there's a weaponized incompetence in that, whether the woman or the other person takes on, says, oh, it's okay. It's okay. Well, actually, is that a bit of martyrdom there?
Yeah.
You know, as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's so complex, isn't it? It's not
Mm.
something very simple. It's interesting you bring that kind of victim mentality that kicks in, or martyrdom. And that kind of stems really from probably stuff from church, right? Because often there's a thing that girls are taught, particularly, and certainly men are taught as well, certain things about self-sacrifice and all sorts of things like that. And they may have self-sacrifice to their mother, but they may not necessarily, they might compartmentalize it. I can be self-sacrificing here, but not here in my family, in my immediate family, because my wife is now meant to do that for me. So you get these kinds of odd kinds of rationalizations that take place. But in general, I think, we have, unfortunately, women and men have perpetuated this, right?
Yeah.
All of us have perpetuated it. I mean, as I said, if it wasn't my dad that ever said, oh, tell him he can go and play or let it go. No, it was always my mother who let my brother off, never my father.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting in itself, right?
Yeah.
Again, my dad didn't do many dishes, but that's why he employed someone to do them. But the thing was, not my mum. There was somebody else. There was somebody else, a cleaner that came in. But the thing is, it's really interesting as to how we do these things without awareness, how we perpetuate our own innate prejudices without those awarenesses, how we will unconsciously let someone off and someone has to work, and the learning that we have of what girls and boys shouldn't do. And sadly, in later years, this really affects later relationships, right? Where women kind of, the testosterone, change is happening, and all of a sudden they've had enough, right?
Yeah.
They've had enough, and the testosterone is high enough that actually allows them to move forward and say, "Hey, I'm done with this." And that's a really horrible place to be, because at that point tolerance is gone, right?
Yeah.
And it's very hard to be tolerant then of this resentment and unfairness that you've been carrying, and maybe on some level a little bit of your own fault because you've not challenged it, right?
Right.
But you're so resentful, it's so hard to even step back and go, hey, hey, maybe I really need to rethink, and how do I change this relationship to be something worthy, and move it to the next plane that we can. So that's that's another thing of recognizing. And I was just reading it, looking at and we got a lot of stuff on social media, haven't we, where men are saying, how women should be, and what kind of women they need, and totally excluding what women need. And feeling that those roles are there. And I think it's going to be really important in the future for us to learn from a very early age, to help men really develop their emotional level, that they're able to handle rejection. Because often for little boys it's a really hard thing to, there's one of the things, the hidden saboteurs of weaponized incompetence, is that maybe you don't learn to be skillful at things, right? So when you go into a relationship and your wife or girlfriend says, oh, you shared stuff, and they go, oh God, I'm rubbish at this, right? So, but they don't own up to it necessarily. And so what they just do is move away, they avoid, or they become very perfectionistic in a way. So it's just really recognize there are some patterns that may be at the root also, is really this fear base of lack of competency that a lot of men might have, because their mums haven't taught them.
Yeah.
Learned to cook, or they haven't learned to manage things and had that responsibility in any way.
And it's not really that they don't have the ability to do it. As you were saying, they've never been taught how to do it. Some are perhaps just think, well, they, as you say, I'm rubbish at this. I'm not very good at it. I can't do it. So they just shut down, and so therefore continue to be bad at it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great excuse to say, oh, I'm rubbish at this. So you then continue. I think there's some I've heard where some will just carry on being bad at it because it actually gets them out of it.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah.
it's a great excuse. So, oh, well, I haven't even got to face that. So it's about facing that and actually knowing that actually for your own self-esteem, it's better to get to grips with that task that you say, oh, I'm no good at. Because I always remember my ex-husband, I did all the cooking, and it did get a bit after a while, you know, I was sort of totally fed up with it, you know. And he often used to say sort of towards the end, quite a few years towards the end, he would say, oh, well, I don't know how to cook. And I never actually took the time to share that with, to help him or to teach him. It just seemed like he said that, and it was like, I can't do it. So that's it. You know, I don't know how to do it. And I allowed that to perpetuate. And I think that's where we need to take accountability or responsibility for, where are you allowing it to continue?
Yeah.
And because it isn't about doing the tasks, it's having the accountability that those tasks need to get done, and how are they going to get done. And so yes, cooking needs doing every day. We need to eat every day. So how's it going to do? Okay, he used to help me go shopping. We do the shopping together, but it was the planning of the meals and cooking them every day. It just, yeah, that did get quite resentful, really. And it's like, well, why can't you learn? I think it's just like, well, why can't you do it? And so you get into that deeper resentment where you're not even communicating, you're not being willing to support the other person. And then it really pulls you apart, because it's like, I think there's a beautiful word, it's corrosive.
Yeah.
You know, I saw that word today. I thought, yes, over time it's corrosive. You know, it might be a bit of small frustration at the beginning and just on the surface, but it sort of eats away and corrodes. Yeah.
It's a
At the
great
relationship.
word.
Yes. Yeah. So it's okay. That's what can happen. Namsa, glad you could come back with us. You found your way. You're muted. You're muted, by the way. You're muted.
Put me as a host. I saw you put me as a host.
No, that Zoom would have done, because you were the original host. So as soon as you came back in again, you would automatically become the host again.
Okay, I have to remove myself of becoming a host, because if my computer...
No, if you drop out, it automatically allocates one of us as host. It will carry on, because you dropped out on us.
Did I?
You did.
Yeah.
You weren't
You
with us.
disappeared.
I thought everyone got kicked out.
No,
All
it
right.
carries on. So we carried on talking about this topic until you came back.
Okay, I thought you were all, because I know Restream, it doesn't cut off, it continues, but I thought you were all kicked out here on
No,
Zoom.
no.
No, we were having a lovely discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did I miss?
Um.
I'm not a host. That's good, Carol, and you are
Okay.
host.
Yeah, it automatically allocates host if you drop out. So that, I think that's the beauty of Zoom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what did I miss out, ladies?
Oh, just talking about what weaponized incompetence is, and how it can actually, even though on the surface there's small frustrations because someone's, they're not, it's not that they're not able to, but they're just saying, oh, I can't do this. So they get away with not doing it. And it can cause quite small frustrations in the relationship. But over time, it can actually become quite corrosive and eat away at the relationship. And so, as I was saying, like with my ex-husband, she said, I don't know how to cook. So he didn't do the cooking. And I used to get really cheesed off with having to be the one that was doing all the cooking.
Come
But
to my
And the
house.
I
planning
didn't
and
actually,
everything else.
so as well as and go to work and do everything else. Exactly. It's like, but I never took the time. It got to that part where it's like, I never took the time to help him or, teach him. And I think that's where it can get to. That's where it corrodes the relationship so much that you sort of fall apart, that there's not that willingness to give time to say, okay, let me teach you. So what?
Yeah, we were talking about how also how how we, I mean, we were talking about not addressing it, how we perpetuate it. So how it's perpetuated in societies. So in the sense of growing up, where my mum would say, he's just rubbish at that, you go and clean, or you go and do this. So there were household chores that my brother just absolutely did never do. He never did anything. So the irony was that when he married his wife, she never did anything, so he had to learn pretty fast. That was the irony. Good on him. They say what goes around comes around eventually. So we were really just talking about how unbeknowingly, because of cultural upbringing, what we bring to the relationship, particularly in a heterosexual relationship, is that you're brought up differently, and so you may have different expectations of the needs and different ideas. But also, if you've been led off and incompetent, it means you probably will feel a lack of security in yourself as a man, because you don't know those skills, you don't know how to do those skills, and you don't know how to, or even where to focus, right? And then having someone telling you what to do, or bringing this, it can feel very threatening to some men. And so they might just shut down, and they might be even more incompetent. They might just find, oh, well, I can still get away with it. Maybe their chances. So there are all sorts of things that start to feed into when we're unable to step up and say no, right? What you do, this is our responsibility together. A relationship is two people, not one. We work together for a common goal, and we all need to eat every day, as Carol Ann said. And so therefore, if we need to eat every day, one person can cook, one person can clean and swap around. Make sure you're doing the swapping around because it's very easy. I like cooking. I don't necessarily like cleaning, but I still do it. But it's just really having that learning and that understanding that of fairness within any form of relationship, any kind of way that people are, and have those shared agreements. And how are you going to deal with them when when the person doesn't do what they said they're going to do, right? How are you going to go about that and get some agreements around that too? I think that's really important. So that's kind of sums up where we were.
Yeah, that's frustrating because even the African culture, I think in Indian culture, they do that as well.
Yeah.
Where they say a woman has to cook, and a
Women's
woman
work.
has to do everything and look after the children and everything. But in this generation, things have changed a lot. In Africa, they now help each other out like 50-50. When a woman is doing something, the man will be doing something. But before, it will be like if a man has to go to work, then a woman will have to look after the kids. But because it's easy to get a maid in Africa, everyone just get a maid. Because my cousin has one. She moved to Australia, and I went there with Hope's dad, and he went, "Why does your cousin has a slave in the house?" Because she was bringing everything, like if we sat at the table and she was bringing everything, like serving and stuff. But because we are not used to it in the house, us, we We get our own food. You get your own stuff. And when someone is serving the table, someone will set up the table and someone will come and set up the cutlery and someone will be doing other things we're not used to. So when he went there, so this girl, she was the one doing everything. So he was watching and then he went, why do they have a slave in the house? I was like, no, it's not a slave, it's a maid. And he was like, why is she doing things for us? We can get up and do things ourselves. I was like, that's how people, because they are paying her, so she has to do things for them. And he was like, that's just wrong. He did not agree with that. But I think it's just a different cultures, a different mindset. Even here in the UK as well, people there are some people who say I can't cook, but actually cooking is very easy. If someone truly, truly wants to learn, they can learn. And now there's this thing, what is it called? Instead of using the oven, you can use what is this thing called? The
The
The air
fryer.
fryer?
Air fryer. Yeah, you can use the air fryer. Yeah, the
Yeah,
air fryer is easy.
they are.
So yeah, so it can make anything. So you can just read and it gives you instructions to say put this on this, put that on that. But I think with this the busy life that we have, that's why marriages now they break a lot. Because even when if you look at the video that we did with Tara as well, she said because she's a doctor and sometimes she works from home, and then when she works from home she work and then he put the washing and stuff. And then she said one day, and her husband said to her, you're a machine, are you? You do everything. And he was like, I'm going to teach him a lesson. This man, he doesn't realize I'm working and multitasking. So then when he was open to go to work, because they have at work, he has things as well. He has a washing machine or tumble dryer, whatever. And she went, honey, I've got clothes for you. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, you're taking them to work today. While you're busy in the office, in the other room, the clothes can be washed and then you can put them in the bag and bring them home when you finish. I'm not a machine. So he had the idea that because she's copying and she's got kids and everything, I was like complimenting her as a machine. Like, you're a lovely woman. I love you so much, my machine. And he's like, need your help. Yeah, I think you have to demand the help, honestly, because otherwise some people are not raised that way, but I think it's good that you have to. There are some people who don't know how to approach the situation. Like myself, when I wanted these kids and their dad to help, I would just say to them, you know what? Wouldn't it be nice if someone goes to the kitchen and cook the food and I eat the food that I did not cook? Wouldn't it be nice? And they'll be like, oh, okay, we're cooking today. And I'll be like, oh, thank you. Then they'll go to the kitchen. That is me manipulated them to cook. And they'll be like going to cook. And then after that, I'll be like, I'll say, call it something that they like. They make really well. And I'll be like, you know what? I really, really fancy this food. You guys cook it so well. And I'd really, really enjoy it when you cook it. And they'll be like, oh, we're making it tomorrow. Don't worry. But sometimes if you go to somebody and say, oh, you don't do this, you don't do this, and then you cause an argument. So you have to find ways to make them feel big, big, big. But it's hard. It can
It's
be
a
really
balance,
hard.
isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
balance of showing greatness,
Yeah.
encouraging greatness, which is a real challenge, particularly if you're a stressed person, right? It's when we're busy moms don't often have the time and haven't maybe been taught to actually learn those skills of how to do a good ask, how to do an ask in that allows someone to be able to step up in a way. And that's part of our education. And I think a lot of people haven't learned those basic skills. But if we do learn to have those skills, we can really, it's not manipulation, but we actually read people, like if you think fundamentally what you're doing, when you're saying to someone, oh, I really love that, what's our innate, most people that love someone else will say, yes, I want to do it for you, because it generates from within, right? And that's what we want to do when we want to really encourage someone to do something for us, is we want it to come from their own volition and say, yeah, I want to do this. I want to make you happy. I want to do that because I love you. Not because I tell you, if you love me, you'll do that. No, it's that they come in and they say, I want to love you. I love you. I'm going to just do it. It's really interesting because before I came on the call today, I said to my partner about 12:30, I said, but 12:15, I need to do this research thing that I was doing, which is just an en masse thing on news. And it was really interesting. And I said, okay, well, when I'm finished, we'll have a quick lunch and then whatever, not really expecting that he was going to go make the lunch. But because he knew that I was going to have a call and I was going to be busy, he made lunch, right? And so it's so nice when you get to a place where you can say something and someone will go and do the thing, even though you haven't even asked. And I think that's part of how you develop in relationships, by being honest. This is what I'm doing. And being totally okay with it. Like, hey, I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to go and do this thing because it's part of something I want to do. That they actually go, okay, that's what you're doing. I know you want to eat lunch. I've given you a time frame. I'll go and quickly make lunch. I think when we can do that as human beings, we've pretty much got the balance right. Because it is really that give and take, isn't it? It's that really mutual sharing and mutual respect for each other and wanting to help each other. I think that's the real key, that you look at each other, you respect, and you start to think, they haven't done it, so I'll do it. Or they'll say to you, oh, have you done that? And you say no, then they'll go and do it. I think if you have that, then there'll be no place to fight. There'll be no place to sit there and have any resentments. I think it's really important that that you allow that aspect of just self-generation, of wanting to help, not as a rescuer, but as a desire to help. Such a different place.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
knowing that actually it is shared, it is not because a job needs doing, something
Yeah,
needs doing.
exactly.
And it's doing it because you're there in a partnership, you're there together. It's not doing it, just think, oh, well, I'm the only one that's going to do it, or from that sort of angle. As you say, it's that mutual respect and a recognizing that a job needs doing. But I think also it's important that it gets acknowledged as well. And I think that's where sometimes resentment can come in, when somebody feels like they're always doing it, and and maybe they'll sort of start leaving things because just to see whether someone else will do it, which can happen. And because they're then feeding, well, if I don't do it, no one else will do it. But it is that communication and a demand for help. I like that phrase, but also I love what you said, Shireen, about being a good ask, doing something, asking for something and make it a good ask. And that is a skill, being able to ask for someone to support and not sort of hinting, because hints can just land on deaf ears. And that's something I hate, is like someone hinting at it. It's like, just ask if you want something to be done, because that, if you hint at something and it doesn't get done, then that's a game where resentment can come in, because it's like, well, they're not listening to me. They're not doing what I want them to do. Well, you're not actually telling them. You're dropping a hint. It doesn't always get the sort of the response or the outcome that you want. And okay, if you drop hints, it's then becoming aware of, okay, well, I've dropped a hint, they're not doing it. And rather than make them wrong, it's become aware of that your communication is not being effective.
Not me
because
too.
you're
Yeah.
not getting the outcome that you want. So you then have to change your communication style and actually ask. Maybe that person needs a direct ask, but it is making it a good ask.
Yeah.
Something that isn't creating a blame or a make wrong in the asking. It's just saying, you know, it needs to be done, and maybe you haven't got the time to do it, but you know, you want some support. So there are ways, and again, those are skills to develop. And yeah, and I love the way you were saying about your husband, Shireen. He had that awareness. You shared with him your timeline, what you were doing, but he had that awareness and that thoughtfulness that you're going to want something to eat, and went away and did it. And I think that is so beautiful. And so it's being aware of each other's needs and wants. And again, that's something to, if it's not happening, to sit down and have a discussion about, rather than making the other person wrong, saying, oh, you never notice what I need and you don't, you know. It's saying, well, this is what I would like to have happen. And in a way, it's not changing somebody. It's like there's a training going on within the partnership of how you would like something to be and how you can make it work, you know, and actually create more harmony rather than frustration and stress and corrosiveness. I'm going to bring that word in again.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. It's corrosiveness. And there's a lovely quote by Esther Perel. A relationship thrives when both partners lean in, even to the smallest tasks. Shared responsibility is shared respect. And I think that beautifully says what is being said here. You know, it is about shared responsibility, shared respect, and getting to know each other. Because if you're not doing something, then there's an assumption that you know somebody in some way, but actually, do you really know them? And I think it's about really getting to know each other in that relationship rather than assuming that you know them. What do you think, Namsa? You're nodding beautifully there. I can see. Yeah.
I actually agree with you, Carol, Annie, and Shireen, when you said you need to share responsibilities. And also, I think it's important when I watched this video, one of the relationship coach, he said before his relationship will end up the same way. But when he actually decided to change things, and when he goes on date, he meets someone that he likes, and he said to this woman that he married, he had to be upfront to say, we're gonna share, we're gonna be upfront, we're gonna be transparent with our finances, with our everything, with the cooking, we're gonna share responsibilities. And he was like, I don't want no stress. You tell me how you want me to help, I will help. And he said he's never been happy in his life. And I actually 100% agree, Carol Ann, when like if you come to an agreement with someone helping each other out, relationship is meant to be fun. It's not meant to be that person does that person does that one. It depends with the hours the person works. So you can help each other out. And just help each other out. That person does that and that person does that one. Not like my daughter who tells you I'm gonna do that and then he comes back and say, I have done it. Just because he made a promise, that means he's done it.
When
So
will you
yeah,
do it?
so I think responsibilities have to be shared, and you have to. I think when you love someone, you truly, truly love someone, in that moment, you have to have this gratitude where have an agreement to say we're going to argue with important things. We're not going to argue with petty things. if I don't know how to put the washing machine, I will learn how to put the washing machine. If I don't know how to do this, I will learn it. You teach me. Because if you relax, mostly it's men. They get married. Once they put a finger on it, they say, you asked for a ring, I gave you a ring. So now, what more do you want? Honestly, yeah, when I talk to
I
loads of
know.
men, yeah,
Wow.
they say, the men, they say, you asked for a ring, I gave you a ring. So what more do you want from me? Not the woman wants the whole package. You have to do the work. Even though they've asked for a ring, it does not go one-sided. It goes both sides. You have a ring on as well. So help each other out. I think it's important for people to help, mostly if you have kids. I think it's really, really important. Like my children are very, very busy. I'm like on the road with them. So it's really, really important to actually, when you are in a relationship, just to help each other out. Because like Shireen, you don't have kids, but it's still hard for you to work and deal with the clients and having to be at home and dealing with the cooking and making sure that person is eating and stuff. They can get the food ready. So this is where Nomsa's tricks comes in. Request the food that you love. Compliment. Me, I love complimenting people. Compliment them and say, wow, you do this thing really well. And next time they're gonna want to impress, they're gonna want to do it. And I say it all the time from the bottom of my heart. So I think it's really, really important. And also to be upfront from the beginning in a relationship to say, are you able to cook? Are we able to? Because we're a team, aren't we? So if you're
Yeah.
not able to cook, what are you able to do? So I can know if you can't be in the kitchen, if you can't stay in the kitchen, you can be in the washing, doing things, you know. Um, I was listening to Pastor James. He said even though they have the money, but in his bedroom, nobody enters his room. They have to clean their own rooms. They have to do all look after themselves as a couple. He says if you are a woman and you get married and a man you get married, why would you hire someone? He said if you have a busy life, you hire someone to come and help you out in the house with the other chores. But when it comes to your bedroom, that's why people end up thinking that they can take your husband or take your wife because they come into the house, they're now cleaning your room, they're now tidying your things up. So they think they have authority. So it was like, get them out of your room. Don't enter my room. If my wife is not there, I'll do it. I'll do the cleaning. So yeah, I think it's important. There are things that people take for granted in life, but it's important to evaluate things and have an agreement. Make it fun. Carol Ann, you said no blame. That is forbidden. Blaming is forbidden.
Yeah. I love the exclude the maid from doing, or the paid help from cleaning your bedroom. I like that.
When you're not
that
there.
sort of
If you're there, I think you're still the madam of the house or whatever. I think it's when you're not there. I think it's
yeah,
more.
but it's not. It was the paid help,
Yeah.
not doing the bedroom. It's like you
Yeah,
or
yeah,
your
I
wife
understand that.
does it. Yeah, if because that gives that energy of them creeping. I thought, well, wow, that's an interesting metaphor there, an interesting thought. So yeah, but I think, was it, what more do you want? I've given you the ring. I thought that tickled me.
Hey, men do that. It's like, what more do you want?
Okay, so there's a great conversation to be had there. Is like, okay, should I be actually have taken this person's ring if that's his thoughts? But yeah, it is about having that upfront conversation, isn't it? About what can you do, what can't you do? But also, I'd like to bring in there, it's like, well, what are you prepared to learn to do? you know, because is there a willingness to, over time, maybe not right at the beginning, but then maybe there's a willingness to learn some of the tasks or some of the things that you know, they're not able to. So it becomes shared. And because actually, I think that's important that you can both do the tasks, because heaven forbid anything happens, but whether it's one partner dies or whether you actually get divorced, when you find yourself on your own, all of a sudden you have all the tasks to do that maybe you relied on your partner to do. And I remember it hit me a bit when my ex-husband and I parted company that, oh God, he used to put the dustbin out. So it's like all of a sudden I had to remember to do that, you know, and actually do it, and little things like that. So maybe having that as a shared now and again, so that it's still in your consciousness and it's not quite such a shock when it comes to having to do it, because you're actually on your own. I mean, I will give my ex-husband his due. He actually, because when I started working full time and it was just got too much in terms of washing and that, he actually did his own washing and ironing. And that made a huge difference, you know, to take that responsibility for his own clothes and uniform, because obviously he had his uniform to do as well. That meant that I could just focus on mine and the children's, you know. So, and then they did their own. Okay, so you do your own. But it creates that independence, but it doesn't make it such a huge job if each of you share the task. So yeah, I think, yeah, complimenting someone when they've done it rather than criticizing. And if there is some improvement that could be had, they didn't quite do it well enough. So, you know, by criticizing them, it gives them that excuse to say, oh, well, I told you I couldn't do it properly anyway, and stop. It's finding a way to sort of just nudge and say, well, look, you know, this would be better if or this another way of actually saying it rather than criticizing. There's a compliment them on it. And it would be better if perhaps could do this. And then give them another compliment. So it's like that compliment sandwich that you give. And so, you know, you give 2 pluses against each sort of minus or negative. But if you don't actually share what isn't quite right, then that again can become a resentment because they'll carry on not doing it quite right. So again, it all comes back down to communication and being willing to be open and honest and not take it personally when somebody says that there's something wrong. And I think that's where arguments come in, because you start taking it personally. It's not personal. It's about the task. It's about what happened. It's about the outcome. And so how can you then improve the outcome, you know? So really talk about that. So sort of, it's about having healthy collaboration around the whole thing, isn't it? Recognize where there's something not right, where there's incompetence, there's actually been used as avoidance, and then having a conversation about it. Actually acknowledge perhaps the impact that it has on the relationship and on how you're feeling and on your love towards that person, you know, because it can and erode that and the trust that you have for them. So, and then just sitting down and create new agreements. And it's about reviewing it. It's not a case of, oh, we've agreed on that and that's it. Things change because, you know, I didn't go to work in the beginning and then I did go to work. So it is again about what's happening. Life evolves, life changes. You can't stick, you know, in that sort of agreement where you were, because it might not still be working where you've now come to. You know, your children grow up and move on. So again, things can change. So it's about having those regular communication times to review the situation, I think. I think that's important. Yeah.
Yeah, you are right, Carol Ann, when you say you have to reevaluate because when you agree to something, like when you say people change, things change. How my life was like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, things have changed a lot. So you know that's why I'm saying it's nice to have to do it in a funny way and just have a conversation every now and then, revisit that agreement, whatever you have agreed, and revisit every often. Whether is it the kids' activities, revisit it very often. And just like things change all the time. And what we do is, well, we change, we grow. So that is really, really important. And without blaming someone, if that person does not get a chance to do what they said they will do, as long as you know that they know, because you can see someone who is taking you for granted and someone who is not. So you can tell. So as long as you know if they don't get a chance to do what they said they will do, not to say, oh, you always do this, you always do this, and try to find ways to work as a team, because everything is teamwork. So it's really, really, really important. And also those who have got kids as well, because the kids, they do activities as well. You can actually, as long as you're not those parents that book children 7 days a week, because that is a nightmare. Some children, they do activities 7 days a week. They have no time to relax. So that is another story. So then the parents will have to, my children, they don't do activities every week. They do few. So I make sure, because I don't want to be running around all the time. And all those activities that they're doing, they do them in one place as well. If it's at home, the tutor comes at home. If it's at school, they'll do it at school. If it's dancing, they'll do it at theater college, and that's it. And if I have to add on, like now my daughter's going secondary school in next year, September, that means I have to prepare her. So that means I have to find a teacher to take her. So like yesterday, I said to her, Dad, this is the day she's available, because I don't want to make a commitment and take that on me, and then I have to be the one that is taking it all the time. So I was like, this day, are you okay with it? So if you say you're okay with it, you mean you have to commit to it too as well. So he was like, yeah, that's fine. So meaning is gonna have to help as well if I can't do it. So I think that is really, really important. But mostly the people that I talk to, they have these problems where mostly men, I think it depends with the upbringing as well. There are men who are raised to say a woman has to do everything. For them, they're like the men who goes to work. But if you grow up in that place, because my dad used to do things, he used to cook, he used to clean up. So we'll be cleaning up, we'll be doing all these things. If you're that man who's been raised in a place where a woman has to cook for me, then it becomes a problem, or they have to do this. There's also some women who have nails, fake nails like this long. Yep. And there are some chores in the house that they cannot do them because of protecting beauty. A man has to do them. Or some, their job is just to put makeup and pose on social media. And a husband, a man has to do everything because when they found them, that's how they were. So they need to keep up that appearance, you know. And that destroys marriages as well, because of the looks, they fade away. And then when those looks fade away, or the man gets fed up, say, I'm the wonder person. I don't know. Have you ever found, Shireen, um, mostly even in African cultures, they've adopted that European style as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everywhere, Carol Annie, you'll be surprised at how when people travel, they pick up naughty things.
They take the worst part. And I think on one level, humans are fundamentally lazy. So we will pick up things, and it takes a lot of effort to do effortful things. And part of relationships is about the shared effort. Healthy love survives on a shared effort where both partners are building together, especially, during parenthood and pregnancy. So it's a really important thing at those times anyway, to set the pace of what's going to happen. But even right at the beginning of a relationship, it's so very important. And I think, how do we address things address it without having war? I mean, I think it's really important is when you're starting to feel a little icky, if you start to feel a little bit resentful, if you're starting to feel, I'm being taken for granted in some ways, that's often telling you that you're in a rescuer role, right? You're in a role which needs some reevaluation. So you need to spend a little time just to go inward and just go, okay, I'm criticizing someone, I'm judging someone. Guess what? All three fingers. Look back at what's happening for you, which is, hey, I'm resentful and all of these things because, hey, I can't say no, or hey, I can't give a good ask. So we need to name very gently for ourselves what's going on and kind of go, oh, this is what it is. Right. Okay. Now I can then address it with the person that's there. So it's important to not do any name calling, like you're lazy, you're this, and this, and this. Don't. Just basically pay attention to when you say you can't do something for me, when you say that it's not possible. I feel left out. I feel unsupported. I feel tired and exhausted, and I feel I'm pushing water or whatever. We need to find another way. I love you so much, but I really want to find another way. So these are the ways in which you can do things. And, the idea of reevaluating the standards, right? Things change. So set a standard, but not perfection. And make sure that you both agree to what is really good enough. I was kind of like a little super clean fiend until I met my partner. And then I realized that we are different. So I said, okay, the only things that have to be clean is the kitchen and the bathroom and the toilet. Those are the three things that there's no excuse. Everywhere else, I don't care if it's a mess. I don't care if it doesn't get vacuumed. If it only gets vacuumed once a week or once every 2 weeks, I don't care. And it's really learning to evaluate what allows you to be comfortable and what are the things that really are, say, a health risk. Right? Clean kitchen's a good idea. And also remembering to anticipate what others might feel as a load, right? To anticipate the needs of somebody else. What's going to go on? What's going to help them? Because by helping others, we've all learned helping others helps ourselves on some level. And like you were doing, Nomsa, reframing things. So you said, oh yeah, I encourage people, for something that, oh, I love that you make that wonderful dish. I wonder when you're going to do it, right? Something like that is a reframing and changing things in a way that encourages and inspires helping behavior from others, collaborative behavior. So I think if you can spend a little time just looking at where you are incompetent in those skills in your relationships and work towards developing them in such a way that really helps. Most of my work is all about that reframing. Most of my work is helping people to get a sense of, name the feeling, because we're notoriously bad at understanding what the feeling is. Because we don't develop enough language for the kinds of feelings we have, and then addressing them in such a way. That's majority of my work. And often when you just name, you take the anxiety down and you take the blame away. And it gives you the footing to then start something new.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm just aware of the time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh my goodness.
Well, we had a blips, didn't we?
We did, yeah, and we did start late, so it's like, but I think I just like to the last few things to say. It's just that true partnership requires mutual respect, effort, and presence.
Yeah.
I know, Shireen, you said something about effort, putting that
Yeah.
effort in. And it's about both people committing to show up fully, even in the unglamorous tasks of life. All those tasks that you go, ooh, a little bit icky. You know, it's showing up, you know, fully in those as well. And the fact that healthy love thrives on shared ownership, accountability, and care, not avoidance. Because actually, there's a beautiful quote here, and I'll just finish with this. Love is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about showing up willingly. Avoidance is the quietest form of abandonment. So, what would you like to leave? The last thoughts, Shireen?
Oh, I think those thoughts are good enough.
Yeah.
I don't think I can improve on those thoughts. They're really, really powerful. I mean, yeah, quietness is abandonment. It's an interesting statement. Right?
Yeah,
So no keeping your mouth shut. Do it strategically in a good way. Like right now, I'm not going to say anything, but I will say something later. But I think there's something really important about that.
Yeah.
You're abandoning yourself.
Yeah, encourage each other to grow. I think that's important. Like Carol Ann said before, not to blame each other. And then watch the relationship blossom. Because when you help each other out and without getting frustrated as well, which is really, really hard for people, like when someone does not do, and like expectations, Shireen, you said your spouse did not do, you were like, you're a perfectionist when it comes to cleaning, but when you got together, you had to calm down a bit. So yeah, I think that is really, really important. Our expectations, when they are not met, sometimes it can destroy relationship. And yeah, so if you're watching us, guys, from YouTube, please do subscribe to our channel. And on Facebook, we have two groups, Unique Billionaire Mindset and Ngozi Talk Shows. Please join the groups and be part of the talk show family, and go on the website. What's happening? Okay,
Oh, we're still here. We can say goodbye.
Have I opened another tab?
No, it's fine. You're as you are. Just continue before you close it.
Do you want to
end the live stream?
I was directing them, go to the website, guys, for matchmaking and finding your own voice for coaching. You can get in touch with whoever you desire to be your coach. And God bless everyone, and leave